Manson has never admitted giving the orders to his followers to commit murder. He told me that he could understand that they might have wanted to please him, but he never commanded them to do anything like that. And I think it is very possible that he's telling the truth about that. Very possible that he's telling the truth about that.
This man was not guilty of murdering my daughter, okay? Of all the 7 murders that I know of, he did not commit one of them, all right? I feel that he has taken the blame for all of them. And the ones that should be blamed for is Tex Watson and Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, all of the girls.
What do you think of Sharon Tate's mom attending all of your parole hearings?
Sharon Tate's mom has never attended my parole hearings, and she knows I didn't have anything to do with killing her husband.
Is that right? That's not right, is it, Paul?
No, she goes to Tex.
Who's the one?
Tex took responsibility for that, man. You read his book? He said he did that. He said he did it because he thought that's what I wanted him to do.
And I hope in no way that I've in any way I've given the impression that I'm trying to blame anything on my parents or blame anything on drugs or blame anything on rock music or blame anything on Manson, because I do take complete responsibility.
All right, in 2008, Vincent Bugliosi, who was, of course, the lead prosecutor, you know, the helter-skelter dude, was doing a morning show at the time and came in, sat down. And as we went live, I said, by the way, I want to get something out of the way. Charles Manson never killed anybody. He went berserk. He said, Hitler never killed anybody. I said, you're comparing Charles Manson to Hitler? The Nazi army? Stuka dive bombers? The SS? What? Hitler? He never killed anybody. He was a great salesman. It occurred to me, I'm kind of on to something. I said, he never killed anybody. He just told people. He's a hell of a salesman. It's like people who convince people to be kamikaze pilots. So anyway, as I did this, Bugliosi went berserk. He said, don't you understand? He told these people to do it. I told him, hey, Vince, go out and rob a bank, bring me the money. Go right now, go, rob a bank, bring me the money. Now go. I'll stop the interview. I said, now, if you do that, I'm supposed to be charged with robbery?
Do you feel any responsibility for what happened that night?
None.
You feel no remorse for what happened that night?
How am I going to feel remorse? What am I supposed to feel remorse about? Everyone says, you feel no remorse. I said, can't you understand I'm not guilty of anything? And they said, well, you're supposed to feel remorse. I'm supposed to feel remorse because you don't understand, because you're twisted in your brain? In other words, someone comes in and says, you were in New York City last night. You said, no, I wasn't. And they said, well, don't you feel bad about it? You should feel bad about what? Said people that happened in New York City. Man, I wasn't in New York City. I wasn't there. I was in San Diego in bed with some broad I'd met in Big Sur. I didn't have no family. I had a motorcycle, a sleeping bag, and a guitar guy. I just got out of the penitentiary. I hadn't been out of jail long enough to they say, well, you got our kids to do this, knock you out. You had your kids to do that. Your kids were doing that before I got out of the penitentiary. I just got out of jail. Can't you understand that? You tell the people something, and they've got their minds made up a certain way. You dig what I'm saying? And you tell them something, and they just don't know. What am I supposed to feel remorse about? Do you feel remorse that every day of my life you've tormented me with these idiots that you got holding me down? That you beat me and knocked my jaw out, you forced me medication, you drugged me up down hallways, you hit my head on every chopping block in the state of California. You poisoned me, you've done everything. I've puked blood for months and days, man. You've done everything you could do to get me killed, and then you turn around and ask me, do I have any remorse? If I have the right to do to you what you've been doing to me, then that gives me the right to do anything I want to, anyone I want to do it to. Can you see now? Well, you better give me my rights.
That's a statement of facts, Mr. Manson.
As they've been presented to you.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Did you want to tell us your side of this?
Yeah, I've been wanting to for years, but it wouldn't listen.
Okay, this is your opportunity if you want to tell us, as long as you don't take too long, because we're not,
there we go. See, how long is the episode would be to squeeze it down in words. We're talking about 25, 30 years here. That's not very easy to say in a few minutes.
I understand that. I just want you to do the best you can.
Yeah, well, the more confusion that people have piled on me with lies and deceit and ambition and all the greedy little things that they play their dollar bills for comes back to the penitentiary that I've been in since I was a little kid.
The facts of this case speak for themselves. The consummate brutality of the unspeakable, premeditated murders for which Mr. Manson has been convicted clearly demonstrate his wanton disregard for human life.
Now, stop.
Okay.
Now, that's my point, exactly. If I were guilty of that, that would be true. But as long as that court stands, then that's what makes me what I am to that man's mind. That is not me. He gets his reality from that court. If that court says I'm guilty, he's going to agree with it. You know, whatever you guys are playing out there that's nice for you to play when you got the money, that's cool. But when you're down in a hard time where you ain't got nothing but the mind you're mopping and slopping with, you got to deal with what you got to deal from here, honey buns. And when you can do that, then that's the penitentiary. I don't know all the things you know, but you don't know the things I know either. I don't disrespect you and take your rights, so give me my fucking rights. You can't fool me. You can't trick me. I didn't have nothing to do with killing those people. Period. Okay. I've told you that all the way down the line. I wasn't around anyone when they were killed. I'm not saying I'm not capable of doing it myself. Okay. But I'm just saying this. I did not do that. And I could have proved it in a court of law.
Okay, that's on the record, Mr. Manson.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
finish this letter. It's very
Thank
clear.
you.
If there's any change or anything you want to say about
So all that is reality to you.
Yes, we accept as true.
And either if it never happened, it's still reality to you.
Yes, because you were found guilty by a court of law.
Okay. And all the things that in that courtroom, that went through that courtroom is reality to you.
Yes.
In other words, what you're making me into in your reports so that you can write your books and do your Rambo trips and make your movies for public entertainment is not really what happened. And what happened could have been explained, but if you will allow me to call a witness.
No, we do not allow witnesses in here.
I mean, it's within a panel. I'd like to question that man in front of the panel.
We do not allow that, Mr. Manson. We have a procedure that we follow. Now, if you want to tell about the crime, then go ahead and tell about the crime. Otherwise,
then I will say it, and then if it isn't true, he can interrupt it through you, and then we can talk through you. Is that legal?
You may.
It says here that I can call witnesses on this paper here.
No.
This says I got these rights to do this.
No, you do not. If you would please respond to either any additions or corrections to the incident offense that I just read.
Yeah, I didn't tie anybody up.
Okay.
And I was never on the scene when anyone was killed. I think the law says you can only keep me 17 years or 18 years if I was never on the scene when anyone was killed. I was never on the crime scene of anything. The closest I came to the crime scene is I cut Hinman's ear off in a fight over some money because the Frenchman, he wouldn't pay the Frenchman, and I told him why don't he be a man about himself and pay his debts, and we had a fight. So in order to hook me up to that, they say, well, they tortured the dude 3 days. I was gone from that scene of that crime for 3 days. I was never on the scene of any crime. I never told anyone directly to go anywhere and do anything. I always said, and mostly it come from the witness stand, I said, like, you know what to do. You have a brain of your own. Don't ask me what to do. I just got out of prison. I don't know what's going on out here. I haven't been out of jail long enough to really get a perspective of what was happening. I just was released from McNeil Island, and I was in Mexico City prison before that, and I was in Turtle Island before that, so I really wasn't up on the 60s as much as you all make me out to be. I had just got out of prison. Most of those people, like Castavian, I knew her 2 weeks. I had seen her 2 or 3 times around the ranch. I had never even been with the broad, man, that much, you know.
Okay.
You know, I kind of anticipated what you were going to say because you've been saying the same thing for 20 years.
All right.
This has grown so much that the people living in my life have moved in with uniforms and penitentiaries. They built whole penitentiaries in the fear that they generated off of this case. So the public can feel safe against this monster. We're going to charge you $200 million to build another set of penitentiaries.
Mr. Manson.
So people living in my life, they don't care whether I broke the law or not. They'll make up a lot of things and sell a lot of books, 58 of them to be exact, and billions of dollars have been made, and it's okay if I have to spend my life in prison. Let me finish. Just to hold me, because I've shown you some strong strength, and I haven't surrendered to this by copping out to yours or telling tales on someone else or playing weak. You've medicated me, you've burnt me, you've beat me, you've stabbed me, you've done everything you can do to me, and I'm still here, and you're still going to have to face the truth about this case sooner or later, if not here in the street.
Do you have remorse, Mr. Manson? Do you feel any remorse for the victims whatsoever?
Now, we reach an impasse here, man. We're in pawn 4, bishop 4 to 7. Let's see. How do I finesse that? You say in your minds that I'm guilty of everything that you've got on paper. So therefore, it would run logic that I would need to have remorse for what you think is reality. And if that be true, then all the ocean's contents, if it were my tears, there would not be enough to express the remorse I have for the sadness of that world that you people live in. Okay. But I don't have, on the other side of that, I asked you back the same thing. You know, you've been using me ever since I was 10 years old. They used to beat me with leather straps, you know. It's like, does anyone have any remorse that I've spent 23 years in a solitary cell, and even on Devil's Island, you didn't keep anyone over 5 years. You broke every record that they've ever set on the planet Earth. You only kept Christ on the cross 3 days.
Mr. Manson, I think you answered the question. Do you still have a family? Per se, the family you had at the time of the crimes. Do you still have a family?
Family?
Uh-huh.
That's another one of the district attorneys. See, when they set that case into the paperwork to make it real, they had to catch little words so they could turn all that in and make it into a reality. Hippie cult leader is a word that they used.
Let's go ahead, Mr. Manson, with your closing statement regarding suitability.
You gonna limit me to suitability?
I'll let you ramble a little bit, but I'd like you to stick to suitability.
Is that what you call it, rambling?
Well, no, I didn't mean it that way. I will allow you to talk about what you would like to talk about, as long as you don't stray too far from suitability, please.
As long as I don't say anything, it's okay if I talk.
No.
By the way, Charles Manson never killed anybody.
What about Helter Skelter?
That's the district attorney's illusion. That's his trick. That's a reflection of his fear, his sex paranoia, all the games that... But he won that reality for you guys. When he said, I versus the people versus the people that he represented, he won Helter Skelter as a reality for those people. But that's got nothing to do with me. Helter Skelter was a nightclub in the desert. It's where I run a poker game and I shoot dice. And I make money and I ride around in dune buggies. It's funny, they say, you're going to the desert. I said, I was going to the desert? I said, LA's in the middle of the desert. What's wrong with you, dummy? You say, you were going to the desert? How can I be going to where I'm in a conspiracy to go to where I'm standing? You know, it doesn't make any sense, man. I mean, it makes sense to you people. Helter Skelter is a simple, just confusion.
This man was not guilty of murdering my daughter.
That he's telling the truth about that.
What did your followers do?
I didn't have any followers. I had some friends.
What did your friends do?
They did whatever they had to do.
And what was that?
Whatever that was.
Did any of your friends kill people?
Sure.
Who did they kill?
They killed lots of people.
Did they kill Sharon Tate and the people that night?
I imagine so. If they said they did, they did.
Did you tell them to?
No.
Are you ever in contact with any other members of the so-called Manson family, your friends?
The Manson family was a music group. The music group I had was called the Family Jams. And all the girls sang in the music group. And all the guys played in the music group. It had nothing to do with a cult. It was a music group.